All right, today is the day, and we are going to be unboxing the Kinetrol 90 today, and I know this item is going to be really getting popular, so I wanted to be one of the first to jump in and do a review on this thing, so let's get into it. Well, as you can see, the packaging is really in a bad shape. In fact, we got some wear holes here. Hopefully this is just the exterior packaging, and the interior packaging might be a little bit better. Let's get into here and take a look. Okay. Well, looks like there is no interior packaging. Anyway, this is from eBay, so I guess that's pretty much expected, isn't it? So here we have 2 units of the Kinetrol 90. Let's take them out of the box and have a look at them. Well, kind of a box, isn't it? Yeah. All right. We've got 2 of these. That's pretty exciting. The way it looks at it, there's more than just the Kinetrol. We've got a metering unit and a bracket. We're not going to be able to use those, but it'll be interesting to take those apart and see how they function. Okay, well, it looks like we have some 14mm bolts holding the bracket and the timing mechanism and a couple of fittings here for the air supply. So let's just take this thing apart. Okay, there's the mounting bracket off, 11 pounds. Gonna save some weight there. Okay, we have separation of the position sensor, call it a timing unit, but I guess it's a position sensor. Maybe 8 pounds, but we'll take that apart and see how they did their setup. It's a 120 volt operated. We're going to be using, of course, probably 12 volt sensors, but that might give us some idea of what they were using before. Now we can get to seeing our drive and our mounting. It has drive from both sides. We only need one side, of course, but this way we can use it on either side of the vehicle. All right, let's give it a wing, see how powerful it is. Okay, to do this, we're gonna have to have some help. So we're gonna invite in here my daughter-in-law, Megan Jarvie. She's gonna come in here and provide us some air, and we're gonna see how much torque this thing puts out. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna blow some air into this side, I believe. Let's give it a test without. So just blow some air in there. Nope, put it right up in there.
Oh, right up in it? Okay.
Okay. Switch to this one. Okay. Now I'm gonna see about holding on to this thing a little bit. Okay, hopefully I don't smash some fingers or something. Now you're gonna go back to the opposite one this time. Okay, yeah, it's got some force. I have no idea what it is, but we'll do some more testing to get maybe a little more accurate check on torque there. We, of course, go to the specs online, but this should be plenty of power to do what we want. And this thing, oh, we can lose another half a pound there. 20 pounds, maybe way more than we want, but that is gonna do the trick. Let's go try it on the car. Okay, I may have talked about this in a previous video when we did some other work on the doors, but let me just go over it again. These are going to be butterfly doors. We're going to have one articulating hinge here, that we have those studs mounted into the layup right there. And then there's going to be another hinge right here. And this was an early iteration of that hinge. There will be a ball joint back in under here, mounted through this bulkhead. And this will sit in here. This, like I said, an earlier iteration. It'll be different. Won't have such a large mount here, but somewhere similar. And our pivot point will be underneath in the wheel well. And when the door opens up, this hinge will swing over to here, bringing the door over the windshield. So now how are we going to operate this thing? That is with our Kinetrol 90 pneumatic actuators. Now somewhat you're going to have to kind of imagine the door being here, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it if I was doing it. But we have this area right here. As the door will come in, the door will come back and have a cavity in the door for giving you some more room, maybe a little bit of a pocket storage or something inside there as well. But this will be mounted to the door and then through to the hinge. And these lines, of course, will be replaced with some lightweight polyethylene going through the hinge. And of course, then it's just a matter of sending compressed air to either side that you want. The actuator has the ability to stop in any position, just a matter of when the solenoids stop airflow to it. And of course, just shifting the air back and forth to open the door or close the door. And of course, finally, you can have a solenoid that actually comes to the end and increases the pressure to hold the door locked. We could also have some kind of a clutch mechanism that you could have a fail-safe to be able to open the door without having a loss of air. Now that we know the actuator and the mounting pattern, we can jump over and start doing some buildup of structure inside the door to hold this, to hold the crash structure, and to hold the window frame regulator. But before we can put all that in there, we need to go ahead and get the skins completely laminated and all the structure to hold those skins in position, stiffen them up so that we don't have any flex in the door there. Of course, adding these little structure pieces to hold these components will also stiffen the door up some, but let's go do that. And here you see the actuator sitting about where it will in the door, massed forward by the hinge. Also, we've got to build some rails to make the window regulator or slide. That'll go in somewhere about here. But before we can put that stuff in, we need to actually finish these door skins. And one of the things we need to do there is to put some reinforcements like we did on the old door you see in the back. So mixed up some microspheres with some epoxy, built our lightweight fill, and extrude it out just like you would frosting. You have seen this in another video. It's going to be a little bit different this time. I'm going to actually cover these straight away with some fiberglass. Now over here on the other door, we did use the system of putting some pill ply down before we did the fiberglassing over it. And I'm going to do a little bit more work on that door in the back, but I don't have time to get to that. So I'm going to use the pill ply again over here. I said just our lightweight filler, cover with some pill ply. On another day I can come back, pull that pill ply off and finish that. But we're working on this door today, so we're going to come back and use fiberglass over the top of these lightweight filler little sponsons we have here that are going to stiffen up that roof panel. And this of course is not the only thing to stiffen up that roof panel. We've got lots of things more to do there. But I'm just applying a satin weave right over the top of these lightweight fillers that I've extruded out like our frosting in a cake. And that satin weave has such a tight weave that that microbloom filled epoxy won't ooze through the mesh of the fiberglass. That satin weave will seal it right in. So we're just going to saturate that up and kind of work our air bubbles out. And we can put a little pressure on that filler as well to squeeze it down right into the shape we want. And these little sponsons that stick out, made out of this lightweight filler, are of course just going to create that I-beam effect of stiffening up. Same thing as using foam or Nomex honeycomb cores. Just keep adding different layers of these different stiffeners until we get these doors so they just will not flex. And once I've got those little sponsons themselves all laminated in, I'm going to put a couple layers of fiberglass cloth to tie it all together. And once I get these things laminated on this, it's going to work my way down the door. Now, I've got some people have been saying, why don't I ever use a roller? So I thought I'd put a little more focus on that, show you the use of the roller there to roll out some of the air bubbles. And as I said, we're moving down the door. Now this little tie between the roof panel, the back of the window frame there, using a bunch of unidirectional pieces of tape again, building up about 6 or 8 more layers. I think it was about maybe somewhere in between there, 6 or 8. And then of course, another piece of cloth over there to consolidate it all and makes it nice and smooth and pretty. And once we get that done, squeegee off the little excess resin that's hanging on there, and we'll flip this thing around and work on the lower side door skin. And to do that, throw some resin on, put some fiberglass on. That's really becoming a routine, is watching all these things. What I will mention here is you'll notice that the flange on this side, I've drawn kind of a wavy line on it. Kind of done that so you can see of these flanges, which ones are going to actually come off. And the ones with the wavy line will actually be trimmed off at the end of this video. If you've ever gone and looked at your own personal vehicle, they're made with a steel frame usually, multiple layers of steel spot welded together, and then the door skin itself is put onto that framework and wrapped around. And you have kind of a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of door that's just a flat plane that usually impacts some kind of a rubber door seal. Well, these seals that got the wavy line, they're going to come off and be a flat surface there. Whereas on the opposite side, the flange will stay. It's going to go under and make part of the wheel well. But we went around and put some fiberglass layers that needed to go up against and to strengthen the flange that's going to stay. And now we're going to go add a couple of layers of cloth just to stiffen the whole overall door skin. This is like 30-inch wide cloth, so it takes me a couple of pieces to cover the door. So in a couple places we'll have 2 layers thick in that layer, but multiple layers. So probably about 5 layers on the door skin itself, and then like we mentioned throughout the beginning of this video, other structures to stiffen it up, and structures to hold our actuator and our window rails. There'll also be some other things fitted into the door. And after we've got what we can for the day, squeegee it around, level everything off, get out the excess resin. Again, take our roller so everybody sees that we actually do this. Get any entrapped air out, do some consolidating. This consolidating roller is just some metal discs on a roller. And the next day, once it's hardened up, we're going to trim off some of those flanges. This one, about 3/8 of an inch. That is our A-pillar for the door. And the bottom of the door, about 3/4 of an inch on the flange. And then on the roof panel, of course, there will be no flange at all. It will just be flat going against the rubber seal. It'll be mounted to the tub itself. This is all just roughing cut. Later on we'll go back and sand all these edges to make them nice and perfect. Trimming, of course, slightly over so we can go back and sand everything nice and straight. And it's nice to get to this point in the progress of a part that you've always got these raggedy old edges of the excess fiberglass cloth hanging off. Kind of enjoyable to get to this point where you can trim it off and make things all a little bit cleaner. Now this one's need to be a little more accurate and mark this thing off because this is all the molding that will hold the window frame. Once we got a mark, zip all these things off again. Like I said, this is you kind of have this raggedy edge that you don't want to take off too prematurely because you want to use it as hold up the next few layers of fiberglass you're putting on. But at this point, like I said, this door skin is getting pretty close to being finished. Like I said, the skin, but we will add some strengthening features to it later on. And this part, of course, is almost 3/8 of an inch thick. pretty heavy laminations through there for some strength, as that's the main structure going from the roof to the side. There it is. Like I said, we got more work to do, so we'll throw it back in the mold so it keeps its shape. And that's our project for today. All right, so while I was running around eBay, I also came across this actuator. Yes, this is an actuator as well. It is not a bomb from a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. It is an actuator, of course, a little larger and much more powerful than our Kinetrol 90. This is going to go into the new upcoming secret project. So be looking for that. And in closing, I just wanted to cover one little thing in the back end of this video. This is where people are going to drop off, I suppose, and they might want to, because this is dedicated to those doubting Thomases out there watching the videos. I'm getting lots and lots of comments of people who believe this is going to be a death trap. It's going to fall apart and nothing was done correctly. But let me just reiterate that this is a prototype. This is being built just for the proof of concept idea. Take it out, thrash it, drive it, try to break it. That's the idea. Maybe it will break. Hopefully it will. That's how we're going to be able to solve the problems and correct things. That's how we learn, and that's how we keep going. But I doubt it's going to be that much of a problem. I believe things will run well. And if we have steering problems, we can correct those. If we have suspension components that break, we can rebuild them. That's the beauty of having already done it one time. We can just alter, correct, and move on. You also have to remember that this is a one-man project. I do not have engineers backing me up. I do not have people here that can do 3D modeling for me. I do not have people here that can weld for me. I do not have people here that can do sanding and grinding and doing all the other things. This is me here on my own. We will be bringing in other people to help us on this next upcoming project, because we will be doing this thing and perfecting it to the production stage. And I'm also going to be taking this next project and showing you every single step of the process, from the original design, resolving concept ideas, the design side, coming up with dimensions, and the ability to put this whole thing together. You'll also be able to see the pricing as materials come in. I'm going to show you exactly what the costs are and all of that right through the end. Those things that a lot of you have been interested in on this project. Sometimes I didn't quite get that. I will go over the pricing on this as well in the end. But the next project is going to be from beginning to end, and then you can criticize, critique, and make sure everything on that project is perfect, because it may go into production, and I hope you come back and see that. But that's coming up. Anyway, thanks for stopping by in this video, and come back and see us again.